Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. This is the MMA Spectator. I am John Gibbons, and today I had the pleasure of speaking with Justin Buchholz. If you want to find him on Instagram, at @JustinBuchholz_. We talk about how he left Alaska to pursue his dream of being a mixed martial artist, how he found and started training over at Team Alpha Male, and his rise as a coach and eventual head coach over there. We also discuss about how he's opening up his new and his own gym in West Sacramento, MFI Gym, which can be found on Instagram at MFI Gym or MFIGym.com if you want to go to the website. If you want to take advantage of any deals he's got going on right now for early sign-ups, use promo code SPECTATOR. Let him know that we sent you over there. It doesn't matter where you're living in the world. If you're looking for a gym to train with world-class people, definitely a place to go. And if you're in Sacramento, it's definitely a close drive or anywhere in the surrounding area. As always, please give us a 5-star review on wherever you're listening to this. Like, follow, share, tag some friends, please. Go on Instagram, tag a couple friends on some topics that you think they might find interesting. As far as the sound quality for this interview went, I apologize in advance. I'm ordering some new mics and everything that I'm going to need to definitely take this up a notch. But as far as the quality of the interview, questions I'm asking, I definitely know it's things that I'm interested in, and I know a lot of other people are too, so I really hope you enjoy it. Again, you can find us on Instagram at the MMA Spectator, and that same name across all platforms on YouTube, Radio Public, Spotify, anywhere else. Thanks again. Enjoy the listen. It kind of just jumps right into the interview. We're already talking and hit record. So take care, enjoy it, and let us know what you think. So wrestling in high school, I know you've talked about numerous times, working in the oil industry. What made you pursue MMA, living up in Alaska?
There was a show called Alaska Fighting Championship that came to Anchorage, which is the biggest city in Alaska. And they started putting on shows, and me and my buddy Scott McAfee, we were both working on the North Slope. He was a petroleum engineer, and I was a pipe fitter. And we went and watched the show, and we decided, okay, we'll train and we'll fight in like 6 months. We were both boxers and never did. I mean, I did a little wrestling in high school. He wrestled in high school a little bit, but we were both boxers. He was a pro boxer, and I was an amateur, the only amateur boxer really in Alaska. There's just a handful of us. We went down and watched the show, and we're like, dude, we'll beat up all these guys. So we signed up for the next event, and we both had our debuts 28 days later. And I won mine by guillotine, and I think you won by guillotine as well.
Oh, very cool. So your first fight, pro fight, February 2005, if that's correct. Ultimate Fighter Season 1 airs just a month before that. Did you see that on TV right before and just know that this is something that's going to be huge?
I was always a huge fan. The Ultimate Fighter to me, it was kind of, if you were a fan of the sport and in the sport at that time, the Ultimate Fighter guys were originally kind of just hated by the community. We were like we were on Sherdog Forum. That was the biggest forum. And we couldn't watch Pride. We had to go, it was just a year prior or 2 years prior, it was dark. There was no pay-per-views. We had to, It was a really, really tight-knit community. And when the Ultimate Fighter came out, it kind of commercialized the sport. It was kind of I don't remember being like fans and thinking it's going to blow up. We were just kind of pissed at those guys because we thought they got like an easy route and all this other kind of stuff, And that's funny because that's Forrest Griffin and that crew, Bonner and all them, and those guys are just the legends. They've kind of what built the sport in its modern day. But back then, those guys, it was kind of like the easy way out. It seems like. I know Forrest had a win over Dan Severn. Those are old school days, but that was kind of the sport going commercial, honestly, from the way I'm thinking about it.
Against it.
So yeah, it wasn't because of that. It helped a lot, our motivation to do it, I'm sure. But I was always a real big studier of UFC, something for whatever reason. When I first watched it.
Right, big fan before. Cool. You go 8-1 before getting to the UFC. At what point did you transition going to Team Alpha Male, like leaving Alaska and going down to California?
So I originally moved to Hawaii, and I got about half those wins in Hawaii. I was the Icon Sport champion fighting out of there. I moved from Alaska just because I'm kind of an extreme person. I was like, man, I've been living up here in Alaska. I'm going to go to Hawaii and see some beaches and whatnot, beaches you can actually swim and not die in.
Right.
So I went down there, and a big inspiration for me back then was Jason Mayhem Miller at the time. Like, he had his Mayhem Monkeys, and I was like a teenager. I ended up moving to Hawaii, and then I would wear an Alaskan-grown shirt and dyed my hair orange. Like, all these fighters today complaining they can't get fights. It's like, dude, you can get fights,
Oh, yeah.
Not just about running. You have to promote yourself. You know what I mean? I had bright red hair. I wore an Alaskan-grown shirt. I would come out in Blaisdell Arena, sold out. This is when Robbie Lawler knocked out Frank Trigg, and Mayhem choked out Lawler with the arm triangle. I was on these cards.
Okay.
I won the Icon Sport belt in first round knockout. And I'd go around Hawaii with my orange hair, and Hawaii is a tight knit community as well. So, and much love to everyone out in Hawaii. And, it was pretty cool being the orange haired Alaskan kid. But everyone would think I was Hawaiian until I talked when I didn't have an accent.
Right.
Because I'm half Filipino. Yeah, so I went out there, fought out there, and got in a show called, after winning the Icon Sport title, the Icon Sport guys partnered up with Gary Shaw and Elite XC, the boxing brother Gary Shaw, infamous for fixing the Kimbo fight. And,
okay.
And his son, yeah. So he came out and he put on Elite XC, and it was Diaz. Diaz fought Diaz, I think there were two of them I fought on. He fought either Mike Ina or Thomas Denny. I think it might have been Mike Ina. And that was the first time I ever, there were some guys. I met Couture and Lawler and all these guys were out at Icon. But, I was always a huge Nick Diaz fan. This is when he was after he left the UFC and fought in Pride. He weighed in at 160. And we were fighting on the same card. I remember he was like, hey, can I use a scale? I was standing there. I was like, you're Nick Diaz. You can do whatever you want. Orange-haired kid with an Alaskan-grown blue shirt on. And he gets on the scale, and he was weighing in 160 for Mike Ina. But anyways, I fought on that, and they had a press conference. And I went to the press conference thinking that I was going to be sitting next to Diaz or I think actually this fight was, Ninja versus, I think Lawler. First Robbie Lawler was the main event. And they had a press conference. They had all these other fighters on there. And I thought I showed up at the press conference because I was the Icon champ. I'm like, I'm the champion of Icon. It's the biggest show in Hawaii. It's the feeder show to the UFC. I'm the champion. I heard there was a press conference. No one told me not to go, so I showed up. They had all these name tags, and I'm standing there. I don't see my name. I'm like, what the hell? I just didn't know. I honestly was just kind of oblivious to how things worked. I was 20 years old or something. It's not 21. 21. Yeah. Had to be 21, 22. So the press conference gets over, and I walk up to Gary Shaw. I say, hey, why wasn't I at the press conference? He goes, excuse me? And I go, listen. I was like, I'm the Icon Sport champ. I'm from Alaska. I was like, if I'm going to knock my guy out in the first round, you guys should have had me at the press conference. And he goes, okay. He's like, okay, I like that. I like hearing that. And then I was like, can I have that monster drink or something? He's like, yeah. So monster drink. I leave. I come back the next day and fight in Elite XC, and I'm like the last on the prelims, and I'm the champ, and I was supposed to fight this guy, this big rivalry, and he pulled out, and I ended up fighting a pro kickboxer. And I told everyone and my guys at Bull's Pen, Dino Fernandez was my coach, and Mark Moreno was the big dog at the gym. He was the X1 champion, and then Marco Shiro, he was the X1 champion. We were the best in our weights in Hawaii. Marco Shiro won 135, 145. We fought in both. I was 155. I was the best, and then 170 was Mark Moreno. He was the best out of Oahu. DJ Penn had some guys like Rasta Bastibanez and these guys who were trying to have a rivalry at 170, and then they had a couple guys for me, but I beat all BJ's guys,
Cool.
Then I fought out of there. I fought in Rumble on the Rock too in that time when I was the Icon Sport champ. And I beat one of BJ's guys. But anyways, the next day comes back and I fight this kid, Ikaika Choi Fu, and he's a pro kickboxer. He has he's like 3-1 in MMA, and he's got like 11 or something pro kickboxing fights. And I'm telling all my guys at the Bull's Pen, I'm like, yeah, we're warming up. I'm like, yeah, the only way this guy can beat me is if he kicks me in the head, That's the only way. There's no way. He ain't going to knock me out with a punch. He's not going to submit me. The only way he's going to kick me in the head. Like a minute in, we start brawling. He kicks me in the head. He lands a right hand, and it actually dropped me. And I was in denial for 6 months of that drop. He tried to jump on me. I put him in a triangle. We scrambled up, and then he ends up hitting me with about like the hardest shot you can throw from his hip, and I'm charging in because I'm like enraged. A young kid, early in this, I'm trying to just take his head off, and he hits me with like the hardest right hand. It rips my head around, like rips my head off, and as he does that, I hit him with my right hand, and he falls face down. You know what I mean? We traded right hands. He like ripped my head off. I hit him. He falls face down, and I'm like rocked beyond belief. And out of the corner of my eye, I see a little Japanese guy, Mario Yamasaki, trying to tackle me. And this is for real. And I wish I could find the footage of this, but he tries to tackle me, and I like I stop like on my toes and move my hips back, and he hits the fence, and I take his face down on the mat, like in the fetal on all fours, and I grab him and I punch him a couple times, and I put his lifeless body in a rear naked choke, and have him. And I don't know, I'm kind of out of it, and I get him in a rear naked choke, and then Yamasaki recovers, stops the fight. You can look up the Sherdog play-by-play. They describe it pretty hilarious, but after they say Yamasaki tries to stop the fight and whips. But so anyways, I get on the mic, and it was a crazy fight. Like the place went crazy because it's just what I described was pretty crazy. Blaisdell sold out. Blaisdell Arena, the biggest arena in Honolulu. I get on the mic and I say, all right, Gary Shaw comes in. Gary Shaw walks in and he goes, at Elite XC, we reward exciting fighters, and we're going to reward Justin Buchholz with a 6-fight contract. And he did all this big thing, and the crowd went crazy. Then I got the mic and I said something. I was like, I should get 2 bonuses. I'm the only guy that ever knocked him out and choked him. Something like that. And then I went in the back, and I thought I had made it. I thought I had made it in fighting and all that stuff because Elite XC was on the way up, and investing all this money. And then I get the deal, the contract deal. It's a 10-fight contract. I'm making like, as the Icon champ, I made in Elite XC, I think it was $1,500 and $1,500 or something. And that was a huge pay increase for me from the Icon Sports money. So I was happy with that. So I was going to make $3,000. It's funny because I was making $2,000 a week working on the North Slope, but then I come down there and fight for $1,500. I was making $1,500 a week working on the North Slope, and then I come down there and fight for $1,550. But I
risking injuries.
Yeah, exactly. The risking death, right? This is a battle. But he ends up offering me his contract. It's like I fight once for Icon for $15 and $15, then I fight once for Elite XC for $15 and $15, and that's 2 fights down. He had 10 fights like that. It increased $500 each time, and I was like, huh? I was like, I'm supposed to get paid here. I knocked that dude out, blah, 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 blah. And then next thing you know, the UFC called me, Joe Silva, and said, hey, you want to make a debut? And I was in San Diego at the time. I was transitioning out of Hawaii because the training there just, I was kind of looking for another place to train. Like Bullspen, man, they're in like the ghetto in Kalihi, Hawaii, where all the, I don't know, only Hawaiian people go. They say that, but Hawaiian people are, the only experience I've ever had with Hawaiians and Samoans and stuff on Hawaii is they were the nicest, sweetest people ever,
Really?
Yeah, for me. I mean, there was another kid who came from Alaska, and he'd be like, he said, you can't go to Ala Moana on weekends and Ala Moana is this big beach park right in Honolulu, right in the center. And he goes, you can't go to Ala Moana, and he's as white as it can be, like Casper. He goes, you can't go to Ala Moana on weekends because the Samoans will kick your ass. And I'm like, huh? I was like, I go there like every other, I go there, and there's bounce houses everywhere, and there were Samoans, but they'd all be sitting in their chairs barbecuing, and they'd be surfing, and I'm like, what the heck? And like, people just get they get weird ideas and things. But I had never had any. And I went out surfing there, and I never had no one come up and say, hey, this is for locals and none of that shit. But I guess I look local because I got, I'm half Filipino. But
get that tan going.
So then next thing you know, Joe Silva calls, and I make my debut in at Wyman in a fight night like 28 or something. You know what I mean? This is old school. My first UFC pay-per-view was I fought Quentin Jackson, Forrest Griffin. That was when Forrest Griffin became, he transcended sports for me. It wasn't that fight, it was Stephan Bonner, because at the time those are 2 reality show guys. And it was like, okay, they're the reality show guys. They did that good scrap, but whatever. But then Forrest Griffin, I've only been to probably 3 or 4 UFCs. Well, actually about 5 or 6 now UFCs where I wasn't cornering. I've been to 100 cornering, around 100 corners. But I've only been to 3 or 4 where I've sat in the crowd. And, 5 or 6 now because Cynthia brought me to 2. But one of them, the first one I ever went to was when Forrest Griffin beat Shogun And Shogun was the best fighter on the face of the earth when Forrest beat him, and Forrest was the guy off the reality show. So then I really understood. I understood what Forrest was about. And then when Forrest was fighting my boy Quinton, come out of Pride, the Pride champ, knocking everyone out, knocked out Chuck Liddell, I thought Forrest didn't have a chance in hell, you know. And then Forrest ends up beating Quinton over 5 rounds that night. That was like UFC 89 or 80 something. That was the one that I fought on, or my first pay-per-view I fought on, and I ended up choking out Corey Hill. And then Joe Silva told me I had the bonus all the way up until the main event. He goes, yeah, you got the bonus. And then Quinton and Forrest beats Quinton over 5 rounds, takes the belt, huge underdog, gets fight of the night. So I was out 50 G's that night. But Dana and the Fertittas still gave me a $10,000 bonus for that submission. Just
very cool.
Behind the scenes, you know. And that was when I was making. I think I was making 4 and 4 at the time, so that helped a lot, you know. I felt I was rich, you know, $18,000 in the bank. But then I had to pay all my trainers and everything else. But that's the legend of Forrest Griffin to me. I seen what pure hard work does. I mean, the guy is a hell of an athlete, but it's all because of his mind. He's not doing a box jump like 80 inches and sprinting, leaping buildings in a single bound. And he just goes hard, you know, and trains hard. They have to kick him out of the gym. So that really gave me a big lesson in MMA. What's possible? You can have a monster like Quinton, like a knockout killer, a slammer, like howling like a wolf, you know. And then Forrest Griffin goes in there and just beats him on his heart, on his will, you know. America,
for sure.
Makes me believe in America.
Oh, it's cool to see how, you know, see his career, how it's, you know, evolved too, you know, seeing him over what he's doing over at the Performance Institute and the fact that he's still, you know, an extremely relevant name just in the sport in general. So,
well, he's just, I feel like Forrest is just one of those solid people because, I mean, he won a Scion on the Ultimate Fighter. I think he still drives that. I think Toyota Tires gave him that stuff for the commercial, but I still think he's driving that Scion. You know what I mean? It's like Chuck Liddell got the job. Bonner got, you know, they were giving Bonner all the treatment. They gave Matt Hughes a job. They gave Chuck Liddell a job. They tried. Dana tried to look after these guys and help them. The only guy who showed up at work and kept going and progressing, and now he's the head of the institute, is Forrest Griffin. So not only does he have a great story in the cage, his story outside of the cage. I mean, he had his peers were there, and they're not there anymore. They can't pay Chuck Liddell just to party. They can't pay Matt Hughes to be fight ambassador and just walk around with a stinky look on his face at every event. You know, they paid Forrest Griffin to do his job, and he showed up with pen and paper, and I mean, he put together the PI. Now the PI is, I call it Forrest Fantasy Factory. You know what I mean? He gets to look at all that stuff and make that tour, all those gyms. And I talked to him a bunch about it, and it's just so cool to see, you know, him running that. You know, they got one kid in there, my dude, his name will come to me, but he's Muay Thai kickboxer, and he's got a degree in nutrition, you know, and he's helping Cynthia with her weight cut. It's like, who could we find that's better? Someone who competed, someone who's there, who has the degree, the credentials, and then he's working at the freaking PI. But those are the kind of kids they're hiring and pulling out of there. So, you know, they're just only continuing to improve. You know, you can't start out perfect.
For sure.
That's something that I've seen. But a funny story. So Cynthia was cutting weight in Vegas one time, and we were using the PI, and we had seen Forrest like every single day, and I was all giddy like a kid because Forrest is the man. But we go in there to cut weight, and I see him. I'm like, hey, Forrest, what's up? And he just looks at me like he's all pissed off, and he's mad. He's got a hat on, and we're getting there to cut weight, and I'm like, he just kind of looks at me like all kind of, you know, not all happy like he usually is, and I'm like, what the heck? And then me and Cynthia are sitting in the sauna, and he comes in the sauna, and then I realize, holy shit, this guy has a sauna suit on, all sweats and a hat, and he just starts going, well, I started at 218 this morning, I'm down to this, and he just starts telling me his stats, and I'm sitting there like, holy shit, Forrest Griffin has cut 8 pounds, and he plans on cutting 4 more right now, you know, and he's just doing it, suffering with the fighters. Cynthia had to get weight off, she's in the middle of it. They're both laying on the floor, and I was just telling them, I was like, you know how blessed you are. You know, this is supposed to be bad or whatever. You get to sit in a sauna and cut weight with the people's champ. You know what I mean? This is the man that explain. You know, where I got this is dog shape. Forrest Griffin was in dog shape. You know what I mean? If you get anybody who's in dog shape, you're gonna deal with the dog in there. You know what I mean? It's literal translation. And Forrest Griffin always got in dog shape, but this dude. He's in there. He cut 18 pounds since since the morning he was getting in it. He was weighing in at 205. And then, you know, he's so crazy. He's already talking about 185, how it's too easy, how the kid's like, he's insane. But, you know, it was a great experience. Cynthia got to sit in there, you know, sweat weight with a legend of the sport, a living, walking, breathing legend, and, you know, just a hell of a cool guy, too, you know. Just all the legendary shit. He's just a badass dude. But, you know, so it was a good experience for her. But that was the PI, man. I love the PI.
So when you were looking for your gym, you're leaving. So you went to Hawaii, and then you're leaving there. You're looking for another gym. What made you choose Cam over like Team Quest or Cesar Gracie? You know, like you said, you were a fan of Nick Diaz. You know, they're already over there together. They're somewhere like ATT or AKA. What kind of stood out to you to go?
Yeah, back then, I think ATT was called the Armory, and it was just Hermes Franca. But I think that was ATT before at the time. There was no ATT. There was Jackson's and not much else. I mean, I knew of Duke Rufus, but that was really it. But what made me go to Team Alpha Male was my buddy Scott McAfee, my buddy my best friend from Alaska, who we made our debuts together when we worked while we were working on the slope together. He actually fought in WEC. We made his WEC debut. It was in Las Vegas. I flew over from Hawaii, and we just kind of hung out with Faber that fight week. He had a guy, Kenneth Alexander, fighting Donald Cerrone. And Donald Cerrone ended up beating Kenneth, but he got busted for a diuretic, which was for masking. I mean, as far as I was understood, masking steroids, you know. I just think it's so funny how one guy will do steroids and everyone tries to kill him, and then they look back and all their heroes have already been busted for it. You know, I mean, but then there's the clean guys too, you know, and they're just the real victims are the clean fighters in everything. I feel, and but anyways, Faber was there cornering him, and then he invited us to go train out there, and me and Scott after his fight we went to San Diego. We went to Dominic Cruz's gym with Eric Del Furo. We went in there, and Cruz was actually hitting the bag, and we're like, huh. We were kind of interested in Southern California because we're both from Alaska. And we were like, oh, we'll live in San Diego, blah, blah, blah. We went through the gym, and we saw Cruz hitting the bag, and Del Furo gave me a tour. I don't know if he remembers it was me. Del Furo is one of the guys that is a true master of the sport. I have utmost respect for him. I've faced him in the corner for the last 10 years. I mean, 27 rounds, or let's see, with Cody's dominant win over Cruz, I've cornered against Cruz 32 rounds. So 32 rounds against Eric Del Furo over the last decade. You know, that's my credentials I'm bringing to the table. But I've always had the utmost respect for him because he's a real trainer, real martial artist, Del Furo is. But I don't know if he remembers giving me and Scott a tour, but we go through the gym, and it's so cool and everything. And then he shows me, he's like, yeah, this is where a barber's going to be. I was like, a barber? And he said, yeah, this is where a tattoo guy's going to be. They're going to give tattoos. And I was like, just thinking, I'm like, okay, that kind of turned me off. Like, what the hell? I want a tattoo place in a gym, you know? I would be like, why wouldn't you get like a bag or a, you know? But they were doing a setup, and he had a bunch of partners, and so anyways, we were set on staying in San Diego, and this is when California, I don't remember what year it was, but California was on fire, like literally on fire from NorCal to SoCal. It was just fires everywhere, just in the middle of a drought. And me and Scott had a soft top Jeep, and we were like, oh, we got to drive up to Sacramento. It's like 8 hours away. Like, what are we in Alaska? We got to drive like 8 hours through this forest. The whole state's on fire, and a soft top Jeep when the air's bad. We're like, we didn't even care. We're like, yeah, let's do it. So we jump in there. We're driving, and we're driving down, and there's canyons coming out of San Diego. There's all these canyons in the mountains there, and they're just flame all the way to the top of them. But they kept the roads open, you know. People people just don't understand like the Caltrans, the people who watch the roads, the firefighters, the state workers that keep this place moving. I mean, but anyways, we drove up to Sacramento, and I go in the gym, and you know, I met Uriah's partner, Matt Fisher. You know, he was like a huge part of that gym success. He told me and Scott and then one of our other friends, Tito Jones, that we could train there for free. He's like, I was in the UFC at the time, you know, and I was looking for a real camp in the United States, and I told him I was in the UFC. He's like, oh man, you're in the UFC, you guys can train here for free. I was like, awesome. And he was Uriah's partner. And then I met Master Tong, and Master Tong barely spoke any English at all. Like, a lot of people can't understand him now, but he had zero English. But I can always understand. You know, I'm Asian myself and had a lot of relatives crack-a-lacking and all that stuff all the time, so I can understand broken English pretty good. But then I watched him and Uriah and Master Tong hit mitts for like 90 minutes straight. This is back in prior to Faber even fighting Jeff Curran. He was just a little ferocious animal, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they hit mitts for 90 minutes, and then I got to work out with Tong and meet some of the guys, Joe Benavides, Dustin Akbari. He's a multiple-time world champion in jiu-jitsu, and we just kind of all got along good, me and those guys and Tong. And then, and then the alpha male segment of my life starts off, you know. And then I continue fighting in the UFC, and I was the first fighter out of Team Alpha Male to fight in the UFC. Everyone else was in WEC. And then from there, I was at, after the UFC absorbed WEC, I cornered all the main guys over the next 8-10 years for all their fights, and all the new prospects, all the people coming to the gym. Like, then Mendez showed up, then Dillashaw showed up, then Lance Palmer showed up, and so on and so forth on the names down. And then there was my era, there was the Dwayne era, the Martin Kampman era, my era, and then whatever they're doing now, you know.
Right, for sure. So, cornering a bunch of fights as an active fighter, speaking on that, all those guys coming over from WEC to jump into UFC. First question, did you plan on becoming a head coach when your fighting career was over? And then also, as you're fighting and then you're cornering all these active fighters, kind of what do you think made them comfortable, having you specifically in all of their corners and them trusting in your game plan and, your fight IQ? Like, what do you think made you stand out to have all these guys trust you and want you right there?
You know what? What finally did that? I cornered. One of the first fighters that I cornered was Charlie Valencia, and he fought Dominic Cruz. Dominic Cruz's first fight at the weight. This is 9-10 years ago in WEC. Dominic Cruz was a 145er, but naturally was a 135er, and he dropped down to 35. He went undefeated for 9-10 years until I cornered Cody, give him a master class ass whooping. But 9 years prior to that, I trained Charlie Valencia. I was part of Charlie Valencia's training camp, but he kind of made me his head corner. He had one of his friends, and then Joe Benavides, but me and Charlie would run every day, and Charlie, again, another legend of the sport. I call him the wise old tree. But he ended up fighting Dominic Cruz, and during the fight, it was a really, really interesting thing because when Charlie would come back to the corner, I'd say, he's slipping his head way out over his knees. I was like, throw a punch, and then when he slips his head out, throw a kick, and you'll kick him right in the face. And Frank Mir was commentating, and he goes, oh, the corner work of Charles Ledger's corner, I like what they were saying, doing his thing, And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. And then I cornered, and it would have worked, but Charlie, we didn't have that in our game plan, and Charlie's a good boxer. He likes punching, and his kicks he doesn't flow him necessarily in that style. It's hard to call for something you don't, know that your fighter can do. And I looked more up to Charlie. Charlie wasn't looking up to me. I was looking up to Charlie, and that's kind of just my first foray into cornering. Then I cornered Danny Castillo in Florida, and he ended up TKOing the guy. And I told him in the corner, I said, "You're hitting him." I was like, "He's dodging the first one." I was like, "You need to knock this guy out. Step in with 3, 4, and 5. Like continue the combination." And then he ended up hitting the guy. He put a combo on him, knocked him out, and the legendary Stitch Duran walked up to me afterwards and said he had no idea he didn't know who I was. I knew who he was. And He told me, he said, hey, he goes, that was really, like after the fight was over, the fight ended, we all like celebrating, I'm standing there on the outside of the cage. He comes over to me and says, that was really intelligent, precise cornering. He said, you don't hear good cornering. He said, you're really good at it. You don't hear good. He's like, in this, I haven't really heard anyone, he's kind of saying, because he's from boxing. He said that he kind of conveyed that he's not hearing good corner work in necessarily in MMA. He just said he doesn't hear good corner work, and he gave me a bunch of props. And then throughout the years, he showed me how to wrap hands, and he's another one of my mentors that I learned a lot from over the 10 years, because he was at all the WECs that I cornered at, and he was at all the UFCs that I fought at and cornered at. And he, that was a Stitch Duran era. I lived through the Stitch Duran era. Those kind of things kind of put it in my head that maybe I knew what I was doing a little bit. And then all the fighters next thing I know, I'm cornering them, I'm training them, I'm holding mitts for them, and doing this kind of stuff. And a lot of it was I was the only guy around who would kind of hold mitts for other people. Everyone was just worried about themselves. But yeah, coming into alpha male, I really thought that there was my philosophy that I've been told as a kid was that there's no I in team, and you have to put the other people on the team above you for you to be successful. But I didn't really understand how MMA worked. That MMA is I guess it's a team sport, but it's a singular sport. It's only you and them in there. Your corner's there, and then the other guy's there. There's no team like. They'll get you ready. The team of people will get you ready, but it's just you in the cage. And I kind of misconstrued that, and I thought, there's no I in team. I'll just help everyone do this. But, after 10 years of doing it, I realized, like, man, a lot of these guys don't help me do anything. In fact, they wouldn't help me out of a if I got stuck in the ditch and they were driving by, a lot of these guys wouldn't even stop, and that's just the cold reality of life. And you realize that, but little did they know that they gave me, 10 black belts in coaching, I was their psychology experience. I got 10 years. Who's got 10 years and fought at the highest level? You know what I mean? Yeah. Who been in the Super Bowl, and then who's coaching the Super Bowl at the same time? A lot of times a good fighter does not mean you're a good coach, and I've seen that with my own eyes. I think we've all seen that with our own eyes. A famous fighter who tries his hand at coaching, it absolutely sucks, Yeah. We've seen that, but it doesn't mean the same thing. Now, does it hurt you that you competed? No. It can really only help you that you competed. Is it essential? No, it's not, but it helps. And that asked me, I got the pedigree.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm like a pit bull with all his papers.
Well,
or a chihuahua.
You got a long list of great fighters that you look at their records of times that when you were around, and it's not something anybody can argue with because it's in black and white, and you see what they've done in the championships that you brought to the team, which I definitely want to get to too. One thing I want to ask you about, and I can completely cut this out, or you can say no comment, whatever. But the tension with yourself and TJ on the show, on the Ultimate Fighter show, was that completely to pump up buys for the fight? And I ask this because on your podcast, Stud Radio, episode 98, TJ comes on, and he comes onto the show. He announces his departure, and then he's going to Elevation Fight Team. Obviously, you invite him on. You let him, give his side of the story. You and Chris give him, seem very genuine, for a good friend, support for what he's got to, do what you got to do. And then again on episode 112, you and Chris discussed the inevitable fight between TJ and Faber, and about how that's monetary reasons. You don't want to see either one of them get hurt, but hey, that's the biggest money fight that they can possibly put on in the weight class. And then again, episode 152, TJ calls in to discuss his upcoming fight against the Sunfella at UFC 200. And there was obviously between, episode 98 and episode 152, a lot of, I'll say, drama that's come out between TJ and Faber. So that's why I asked on the show, were you guys still getting along yourself personally with TJ at that time? And was it just to sell the fight, or did it really turn into real animosity?
No, so it turned into definite real animosity. What happened was TJ left the team because of his problems with Uriah, and that which stemmed off of Uriah's problems with Dwayne, which stemmed off Dwayne's crazy success with the team. He was almost as successful as me, not quite, maybe about half, but with what he did to the team, and that put him at ends with Uriah, same as mine, and then once TJ proved that he wasn't going to hate Dwayne, he got in Uriah's crosshairs, and then they had their whole little spat. But for me, it was TJ left the team. I took over as head coach. I just decided I was going to be the head coach because I saw the team getting flushed down the toilet. And I decided to step up and be the head coach. And I talked to Uriah about it and had told TJ I was going to corner him when he defended against Dominic Cruz. And that was when I was taking over as head coach. So then Uriah said, okay, you can be head coach after you're done cornering TJ. And TJ was like January that month. Anyway, so then I go out and I corner TJ and I come back. And then TJ lost that fight. And he was all depressed. And he probably thought I should call him to cheer him up or whatever. But we didn't really talk that much. And I just go to work at Alpha Male. I got this kid, Cody Garbrandt, this young knockout kid. You know what I mean? I got all these other kids. They're going other places. They're ready. They're kind of fleeing Team Alpha Male. Cody, I mean, his first fight of the year, he had Brandon Gibson in his corner from Jackson. He was halfway into Jackson. Danny Castillo was training in Colorado with Dwayne and TJ. Joe Benavidez had announced his departure from the team. Paige was saying she's going to go to Jackson. And there was no one really uniting everything. Chad, as always, was just working hard at fishing, but he was staying at the gym no matter what, you know. There was guys like that as well. And the team was – and Lance was in Colorado. Lance Palmer was in Colorado. And anyways, I took over, whipped the program into shape. We started working, and you know, we get all these other guys in the UFC start putting together this big winning streak. And you know, me and TJ just don't really talk. And, you know, Dwayne keeps – every time he mentioned Team Alpha Male, you know, we would all talk about how he wanted to beat him up for like a week, you know, just because it was weird how, you know, Uriah's dispute with him kind of spilled into everyone's life, and it kind of had to be. Or, you know, I don't know, you weren't loyal to Team Alpha Male if you liked a picture of Dwayne Ludwig, you know what I mean? Ridiculous. So, anyways, that kind of attitude and stuff went towards Dwayne, and for me too, it's like I know how you know, the mentality and stuff going into fighting, and you know, we needed an enemy. I made the shirt Team Alpha Male versus everybody, you know, and public enemy or Alpha Male enemy number one, Dwayne Ludwig. You know what I mean? And hey, we love, you know, TJ. We're good friends, but that's your coach. You're his guy. You're over there. I'm over here with Cody. You know what I mean? I felt like no matter what friendship I had, my duty as Team Alpha Male head coach trumped any of that. I said, okay, I'm waking up. I'll never be late. I was never late one time. I never missed one class. You know what I mean? I did. I busted my ass for that team, but you know, time went on, and TJ's at one show this, and then he would text me one thing, and I'd text him one thing, and we wouldn't really talk. And then by the time the Ultimate Fighter, and then Dwayne would do stuff like, I remember Cody was fighting that Brazilian kid Almeida, and the day before Cody fights him, Dwayne posts, I love this kid's Muay Thai, and posted a highlight video of Almeida, and then he posted they did a computer game simulation. Almeida knocks out Cody, and Dwayne posted that. And then after Cody knocked out Almeida, I reposted, and I was like, you know, you're a dork, Dwayne, you know. This is a guy you used to train, and you're trying to pick on him. He's like a kid, you know. He's like 24 at the time, 25 or maybe 26 or something. But anyways, you know, I just, you know, I wanted to get Dwayne, and then you go back to the gym, and all Uriah does is talk about your Dwayne, blah, blah, blah. And then then the Ultimate Fighter comes around, or Cody wins the belt. TJ fights the same night, and it's like, all right, you know, this is my guy. Cody's my guy. Me and TJ, I never trained TJ. TJ he was my student in a way, but I was more like just like the older brother when he came to the gym. And then I cornered him for all his fights and helped him and that kind of thing. But it wasn't like TJ wouldn't show up at the gym and then I would admit him down, you know. He wasn't my student. That was how Cody was my student. And I know TJ, I know Cody, so I'm like pretty confident Cody's going to beat TJ. I know them both very well, you know. Anyways, the Ultimate Fighter comes around. By then, you know, the guy across the case from me is Dwayne and TJ Dillashaw. My guy, my student is Cody. You know what I mean? It's all fair in love and war and pay-per-views. So what you did say by you know, there was real tension there, but was that to build the numbers? In my twisted head at that point, it was, because we were going to hype this up. Like the day that I got into it on Dwayne, I actually just watched it for the first time the other day. My business partner, Bethany, showed it to me. And, I was like too embarrassed to watch it but I finally watched this clip. It has like 2 million views or something, Ultimate Fighter. It says Team Alpha Male versus Dwayne, but it's actually just me versus Dwayne. And I remember that before we walked out there, me and Stingray, Cody's uncle, they gave the mic to Stingray, and Stingray said, and I said, no, put that on me. And they're like, no, we're supposed to put it on Stingray. And Stingray says, just put it on and we're doing something. Like, because I was going to go start some shit that day. That was our plan to build and hype the fight. So, anyways, I put the mic on and got at Dwayne a little bit, and it was pretty hilarious. Like, I finally watched it, and I'm glad I watched it because I just, I was just kind of embarrassed by acting like that. But once I watched it was pretty funny. The little incident that we get into. But anyways, TJ, I guess he's thinking that I'm coming back like as his friend, like when he left the team, But why would I come back as his best friend and all this stuff when he ain't hit me up, talked to me, said nothing to me? Hey, it's kind of messed up what's going on. He goes radio silence on my side, then acts like I'm supposed to be his best friend when he sees me. Because when I showed up and I was there, you're in the crosshairs, buddy. I'm about to pull the trigger. His name's Cody Garbett. He's about to take you out, But it didn't really go that way. But that's a long story. That's an hour interview in itself because my work with Cody's ended with Dominic Cruz. When Cody fought Marcus Brimage, then he had one fight against some real tough Mexican kid. I cornered Mendez versus McGregor that night. Cody fought some other kid. I didn't corner him against that fight, and he went a decision. And then he fought 4 times in 2016 when I was his head coach at Alpha Male, and he knocked out Toquinho Mendez. He was like the best Abu Dhabi guy. We took it on a few hours notice because John Lineker pulled out, and Cody knocked that dude out in the first round. Then he fought Almeida in the main event, knocked Almeida out after Dwayne posted all those videos. Then he fought Mizugaki. He was our tomato can fight that was going to set us up for the championship. He did exactly, and that's the thing. If we didn't take out Mizugaki in the first round, Cody wouldn't have fought Dominic Cruz. So he takes out Mizugaki in the first round. Then we get the Cruz fight, and it was crazy. People at the gym, like Cody's management he didn't have Ali at the time, and it was all screwed up. And he got advised by Alpha Male people to fight his contract out, go to Bellator, fight John Lineker. I told Cody, look, you got to fight for the belt. You have to fight for the belt. I said, we're fighting for the belt for free. It's against Cruz. You can beat Cruz. You're the one. You know what I mean? And for me, it was like, dude, it's been 10 years. This guy whooped all my friends' asses. You're the one that can beat him, He beat TJ. You know what I mean? TJ has come up. TJ was Alpha Male 2.0, and Cruz beat TJ. I'm like, beat him on the scorecards, but Cruz knew he was whooped at the end of that fight. He got his leg kicked in. Cruz knew he was whooped, and but the scorecards read otherwise, and that's fine, because there is a scoring criteria. But when a man's whooped, when the corner's whooped, and when the guy can't even walk at the end of the fight. Like, what's going to continue? Let's go another round. Good job, you took me down. You're crippled. Anyways, I never beat Cruz in nothing, pissing me off. So I'm telling Cody we have to take this fight. 8 weeks out, he signs with Ali. Ali makes it happen, does his super manager thing. We get the title fight, and we train our asses off. And going into Mizugaki, Cody was in kind of bad shape for Mizugaki. His back, he had disc in his back, and we all know the problems now. But that's when it really started happening. But that was because of a hard year of training, and Cody was completely inflexible in the legs when I first started working with him. The first couple of times I worked with him was almost all mobility to open up his hips, to allow him to kick, to complement the boxing that his uncle taught him, And so anyways, we go into the Cruz fight. We got to be real careful with the kicks, and I want to kick Cruz in the head. I want to kick his leg, blah, 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 blah. And, it was tough getting Cody to that fight, getting the work we need to get, but we did it. And, you're not going to beat a guy like Dominic Cruz with an easy camp, blah, blah, blah. You're going to have to go through hell to beat that guy. And then that fight, that was the best Dominic Cruz I ever seen. In 27 rounds, cornered up to that point, that was the best Dominic Cruz I ever seen step out there. He fought his ass off. Cody dropped him. He got up like the Terminator, So I was very impressed by Cruz's performance because Cody was hitting people with his punch. I mean, he would have knocked out an elephant. And Cruz took it and ended up surviving. But after Cody won that fight, that's where my tenure as his head coach ended. Once you're on the Ultimate Fighter, you can even see the Ultimate Fighter. Like, once he became champion and all this other stuff, a lot of people got in his ear and whatever else. And, he's a young kid, young stud. coming up, and you know, it is what it is. But you can even see on the Ultimate Fighter, it says Uriah Faber, Cody Garbrandt's head coach. And I looked at that and I was just like, I didn't care because, you know, the team, Cody, me, all knew that was bullshit. And, you know, I don't think Faber cornered him one time before that, never held mitts for him, never ran a practice for him, drilled with him, but who doesn't drill? You know, that kind of thing. And then then the next thing you know, he's fighting TJ, and, you know, I'm in camp for 7 weeks, and you know, we just didn't do anything that we did on our own system. And then, you know, it was kind of, I just didn't even feel right being out there cornering him. It was kind of that situation in camp, him and his corner and his people, and then me and his uncle, like, we're just in the, you know, me and his uncle Bob were just kind of stuck together, and we kind of hold mitts, and then all of a sudden we were being told what to do instead of me lining out the training, like the dork jiu-jitsu coach is trying to run a practice. I'm like, what the hell? What's going on here? But it was just all to kind of just take the power, or responsibility, or, you know, competence away from me. And then you watch Embedded. We come into New York, or we're leaving Sacramento. It shows a clip of me, and it says Justin Buchholz. And on all the other Embedded, it says Cody Garbrandt's head coach. But on that Embedded, it said Cody Garbrandt's Muay Thai coach. And then the next day I watched it, and I go, oh, it looks like I've officially been demoted, you know? So it was just a weird time. And then after that, I wasn't in his corner anymore. And then, you know, the results he had. But, you know, if Cody has anything left, and I believe he's got everything left. I believe, like, you know, he got knocked out, but he didn't get knocked out, like, face down in a lifeless pile. He got hit with like 17 punch combinations. He's still there. His eyes were still there. He didn't get turned lights off. He's a young man. So, you know, back to my statement, if Cody Garbrandt has anything left, and I think he has it all left, he could be champion again, just with the right system, you know. The right system, the right coaching. Get these blood suckers off his belly, you know, and get these yes men away from him, and go back to what he knows, and he'd really be untouchable. I don't know who could beat him in the division right now. Maybe Triple C. You got to watch out for Triple C.
Yeah,
that guy's beating everyone.
Yeah, what he did to TJ, I mean, that was damn impressive. I mean, you know, all the shit talking going on, and then you know, finishing it like that was pretty remarkable. But
and they beat Marlon. Yeah. I mean, TJ was like a frail boy at 25 or whatever. I thought that was just one of the most ridiculous. I don't know how that, because I feel like TJ in his camp kind of hijacked our plan. You know, my plan for Cody was always we'd go down and beat Demetrius, because Cody was small. Cody comes in, he don't cut a bunch of weight, which is perfect. He comes in, he's explosive, he's clearing his mind, and that's why he was able to put together these knockouts. But we just cut a little weight, go down to 25, whoop Demetrius, who was the pound for pound king at the time, and then we were going to go back up, whoop Dominic Cruz again, and then we were going to fight Adrian Broner or Pacquiao at the time. That was my plan in boxing, you know, do the McGregor. But once TJ beat Cody, I feel TJ just hijacked that plan. And it's like, that's a good plan if you fight, but the whole point is Demetrius is pound for pound. Why would you cut down in weight to fight someone who just won the belt? I just thought the whole logic of that was ridiculous. Like, so TJ beats Cody 2 times. He's arguably the greatest guy ever, and then he's going to cut weight, do something he's never done before. You know, one of the hardest things to do on the planet is defend the UFC World Championship at any weight against anybody. And you can prove that in big upsets. You know what I mean? Like Bisping. No one thought Bisping was going to beat Rockhold. No one thought TJ was going to beat Barao. No one thought Cody was going to beat Cruz. Well, I did on Barao and TJ. I thought TJ was going to win. And also on Cody and Cruz, I thought Cody was going to win. You know, an upset happens because the belt is on the line. It's another human in there, man. You know what I mean? I don't care how many reps he did, left hook reps, or if he fucking ran in a pool or whatever. You know? This guy's in there trying to get that gold. You're trying to take his life, man. This guy's dangerous. So I thought it was just a ridiculous amount of risk to put on something that's already so fragile and so hard. Now let's cut weight and go to a tiny weight class that we've never fought in before and fight someone who won the belt 2 months ago. You're not fighting the GOAT, Demetrius. You're fighting someone who won the belt 2 months ago, you know? Then you get knocked out in 10 seconds, you know? Or whatever it was.
Well, it's another thing.
But but at the end of the day, respect for TJ for getting out there and trying it. I just thought he kind of got led down the wrong way. I think he tried to hijack Cody's plan, and it sounded good. But once Demetrius was out at 25, your first mistake was fighting Triple C. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, you already had months and months of build up on the plan of going down and fighting DJ. Just on the podcast. I mean, you guys are talking about it for a long time about this is the plan. Cody's going to, win the belt and then, go after Demetrius. And,
exactly. Stud Radio.
Anybody that follows
TJ was an equity stakeholder in Stud Radio, so he was definitely listening, stole the idea.
Well, talking about Stud Radio, what was your inspiration for doing that? Because still to this day, outside of recently, give him a plug here, Ray Longo, with his MMA and Beyond. I mean, there's no other powerhouse gyms at your time when you started it that you have a head coach with a podcast that gave direct insight to a team that I think that's what made a lot of people fans of a lot of the guys that you were training at the time. I mean, going back to mid-2014, nobody else has done it since. Now, that I can really think of anyway that I've come across and watched. So kind of what was your inspiration for doing that and to put that kind of time and effort when you're training these world champions?
Well, one of my buddies at the time, Sir Studboy, the Mongoloid, he was we just got together and we just loved just talking crap about everything, and we ended up I was living with him at the time. We were roommates, and I was like, man, let's start a podcast. So we bust out the laptop, bought this snowball mic, and we just started recording. We actually started doing Stud Radio. We were years before our YouTube debut with the soap and all that. There's episodes. We had episodes with Misha Tate on them, when she was back at Alpha Male. We had old school episodes that were only audio. And, so it was back in the day. I mean, I think Joe Rogan might have just got off the laptop. He was on his laptop. And then he got into like a studio. He started doing a studio. He started
looking like 2012.
Yeah, this was before Alpha Brain. Before 2012. Yeah, this is before Alpha Brain. There's no Alpha Brain. There's no On It. He was doing his podcast, and he just got off the laptops. But I was doing it way before then, So I was a pioneer in the podcasting game. And I'll tell you this now. Since Stud Radio hasn't been active for going on 2 years now, I'll tell you this that. It kind of set the tone for all the podcasts. Now, Stud Radio really made everyone believe that anyone could podcast. And then you see these guys, and they're terrible. Like right now they got Brendan Schwab. That guy is a buffoon. He gets every fight wrong. He says everything wrong. He doesn't know anything. He can't even talk right. He can't even, I'm not the best at pronunciation, but give me a break, you know what I mean? The guy is you have to be somewhat have a way with words. You can't just be some big goof and just fart the whole. Well, that's kind of what we did, but we had intelligence and stuff behind our shows. I mean, that. But and then look at the set. Think of the Stud Radio set with the two chairs, the one big red one, the mics, and the big bar of soap on the back, and then all the funny little things. Every podcast now has our set. Think about this. We haven't been on the air for like 2 years, and I think we had 11 or 12,000 followers on Instagram at that time. And I looked at UFC Unfiltered, the UFC's podcast. They have world champion Matt Serra and that other guy, Jim Norton, who's like a comedian. Yeah. They got like 9,000 followers. And, dude, we had millions of views. We had millions of hours of listening to. We had Stud Nation and, never made any money off it. I got one sponsor, Memory Tag. Shout out to Memory Tag. They were paying me $500 that we would talk about them and give away their cards and whatnot. But I gave that all to a dishonest intern who just pocketed all the money, throughout those times. So I never made a cent off it. It only cost me money. It only cost Sir Studboy money. But he gets money from the government, so it ain't bad for him.
Well, I got one question. Did you watch his podcast when he had Colby Covington on there? And he was just completely telling everybody knows what Covington's doing, but Sean completely just drew it out the plan. He completely destroyed the kayfabe that he's trying to do, completely tried killing the character on his podcast. When Covington is in character, on his podcast. He's trying to, like, kind of rip the carpet from up under him. I guess I don't get, you know, why you would have a guest on and do that to the guy when he's trying to sell tickets.
Hey, they're jerks. That's why.
So my question is, where did the beef start with you guys? Because, I mean, you guys have been talking crap about him for years.
Schwab?
I've seen him mention you guys.
He stole our intro.
How did it start?
He stole our intro, and then he stole our set. And then there was stuff we would do and say, and the same week, I mean, they have a producer that watches us. That's true. Like, they know about our podcast. I mean, how do you not know about our podcast? But they had a producer that would watch our stuff, and I think Uriah was the one telling us that he went and talked. He went on the Fighter and the Kid show, and it was funny because Uriah on the Fighter and the Kid got like 80,000 views, and Uriah on Stud Radio got like 150,000. We were kicking their ass on the views when we were going head-to-head back then. But I just wish Stud Boy was a bigger man and didn't let the ship kind of sink, you know. It's hard to do it all on your own. But anyway, with Schwab, it's like, I don't know. I don't really have anything good to say about that guy. I don't really know him. And I feel Covington should have just, you know, Covington's out there trolling. He should have just, I don't know. I would have to listen to it, but I don't listen to Schwab. I just won't do it. The beef started. So there's an article from MA Imports, and we did our intro where Stud Boy sings, you know. He's all, look at those yo-yos. That's the way
I missed
you do
it. Dire Straits.
Play the guitar and MT. You know what I'm saying? He would sing this, and then he'd say, coming at you live. That was his big thing. And we were actually live. We're the only live podcast. Everyone else stops and edits their shit, but we had no fear, and we were badass. And so we just did all our stuff live off the cuff. And then Fighter and the Kid, they had some stupid intro. Then they changed their intro after, you know, we were kicking their ass on views, and it went, Brian Callen goes, coming at you live. And he goes, and then Schwab goes, wait a minute, we're not live. And they're like, doo-doo-doo, Fighter and the Kid, Fighter, whatever their lame stuff was. But they stole that, and then, you know, there was a bunch of jokes and stuff, and I've heard that before. There's Stud Nation is still out there sending me clips. Like, there was this whole bit that Schwab was talking about. He was trying to talk about how, like, me and Stud Boy were talking about wet wipe usage and how you're, like, uncivilized if you don't use a wet wipe. And I realize how stupid that is now, like, being, like, a real man, you know. But having, like, you always having wet wipes. And my example was, like, if a bird shit on you or if a human shit on you, you wouldn't just take a dry piece of paper and wipe that off. You'd get some soap and water. You know, you'd have something with – and that was my comparison for wet wipes. And then someone sent me a thing of Schwab talking about the same bit, but it was just disgusting and distasteful. He kept talking about, like, I don't know, how it was on his hand and it was really stinky or something. It just grossed me out. But, you know, I did that when I was, like, probably 27 or, you know, no, I wasn't that. I was 30 years old. What can I say? Immature for my age.
Hey, it happens.
Immature.
So summer of Cam, your head coaching career takes off. We kind of talked about, you know, all your accomplishments there. Can you explain what it was like walking in the gym every day prior to taking the helm and, you know, taking over, and then how it was lining up all those guys and putting in your curriculum and your system?
Man, it was the most fun thing ever. Like, before I was head coach, the talk was, we have to hire a Brazilian guy. He used to coach Anderson Silva. We have to hire a guy from Holland. This guy did this. We can bring him in. He needs a green card and a family. And I put everyone in. I convinced Danny Castillo to coach. He didn't want to coach. I convinced him to coach wrestling. Chris Hallsworth was kind of willing, but put him in a position as the jiu-jitsu coach. Put some other people. Had Master Tong, brought Master Tong back to Alpha Male, and got him on the Muay Thai. And then I tied it all together with the pro practices and personal private lessons with one-on-one lessons and whatnot. And you know, every day going to the gym was just the most fun I've ever had. I just see all the people that I loved, and you know, people getting better, and you know, it was really, we really took the motto of America, you know, e pluribus unum, out of many one. That was what we did. We were all different, but we all had the same goal, you know, to get better, and we just had fun getting better, you know. And honestly, a day at Alpha Male, I'd come in the old gym, and you know, usually Cody Garbrandt would be sitting on the picnic table, like you know, just like he's like you know, a pit bull just wagging his tail. I'd come in and he'd be sitting on the picnic table, and I'd open up my office, I'd fill out a sheet that everyone signed. he'd be one of the first guys to sign it, and then Darren Elkins and Lance Palmer, and these people would be there early and ready to go. At 9:30, we were running, and we just work hard all day. Next thing you know, an hour and a half practice would go by. The dudes would have expended some ridiculous amount of energy in different drills, never letting their heart rate go down, and they would have just been having the most fun they've had. And then we would go eat, come back, train again, eat, hang out.
So on Start Show episode 203, you announced you're no longer the head coach, but you stayed around for a little while. What was the conversation like with Faber when he tells you he wants to go with multiple coaches? And then how was this perceived by some of the veterans in the gym? Like Lita, I mean, the guy's been around forever. Elton's been around forever. And they come to Team Alpha Male because they see what's going on. And, they had good careers before, but they both had huge resurgence with you as a head coach. How are the guys in the gym kind of taking the, hey, we're doing great, but we're going to switch things up kind of deal?
Man, that was just a long chipping away of everything that I did and undermining and getting other people on your team, and it was like a big high school crazy drama thing. I stood on my principles and my what I accomplished. You know what I mean? I didn't think there was any way that Cody wouldn't have me as his head coach. I didn't think that was possible. I didn't think that Darren Elkins would not use me and use me. I would never think that he would think that okay, I'll just bring in some other dork and have him train me and it'll be the same. I just never comprehended that. I said I did my work. I've proven myself. I mean, one time I was going on a flight. I bought the ticket myself to go corner this kid Eric Sanchez, just some up and coming kid on the team in LA, and I went to the airport and my flight was delayed, so I Ubered back to the gym to finish out the rest of practice. I already had my sub in there, but I just like to go watch and make sure stuff is running right. And I thought I had proven myself. I spent all my own money on a lot of traveling, on hotels and stuff like this, and I was receiving a salary, but I had put in all this work, and I was at the gym first, and I was usually the last to leave. Had to make sure the mats were clean, all this stuff. And I thought my work spoke for itself. That's what I was taught. I thought it didn't matter what people said. Is you have to do what do the real work, and these people, I said, they know, everyone knows, but you get someone with a little smile who speaks a soft word or a harsh word, and these so-called men cower and accept anything they say, and you can really shape people's brains and twist what they think, and I saw all that happen, and it's just that was just one of the harder times I've been in, because if you think of a social situation, it was like my identity was now alpha male coach and MMA and all this, and then to have, here's the thing. I opened my own gym. I signed a lease on my own gym. It's in West Sacramento. I'm actually minutes from it now. I'm just leaving the Nugget. I'm going there now. I have my own gym, and imagine what I can do when there's not the people who own the team working against me, Imagine when I have everyone on my side, and we are Eat Plurbius Unum out of many one. We have one goal. We want to crown a champion, and it doesn't have to be you. It can be the guy who comes in. It can be the kid that everyone writes off, the smelly guy who comes in. I could care less. And here's the thing too, when I was running Alpha Male, there was no tryout. It was, if you showed up and you continually showed up, you can stay, because if you showed up and you continually show up, you were a bad mofo. I guarantee that. I don't care if someone else can beat you in a cage fight. You are strong of mind and you are strong of body. You know what I mean? Yeah. You are what man is. And if you're a girl and you're doing it, more power to you. It's incredible. And that's the same philosophy that I'm going to bring in here, just added a bunch of better ones, because I've been 2 years out of a high-level room. Shock tried to recruit me to be the head coach of Evolve multiple times. He flew me to Singapore. I was speaking with government officials of Kazakhstan to work out there, and then some of my good buddies hit me up for gyms in LA, in Reno, in Texas, these places. But, I just stuck to my own guns, and I got a building now that is just, it's about to be built out, and I'm going gangbusters, man. If someone thinks they got what it takes to be champion, I'll prove it true or wrong. You know what I mean? Either way, you'll know. If you think you got what it is to be champion, you come out and train with me, you're either going to be champion or you're not. We will find out. We will find out if you got what it takes. And because I know what it takes to put a fighter at that level. I've had 16 world title fights under the UFC. I've cornered 100 UFC bouts. I've cornered over 1,000 MMA bouts. I did this for 10 years, 10 years I was cornering, fighting, coaching. And it's 10 years, 10,000 hours to be a master. But I got 10 times that experience. I lived at MGM Grand for almost 3 months, in fight weeks, add it all up.
Yeah,
I know where all the food is.
So you just mentioned you opened up the gym. Seen the pictures you're posting on Instagram. The place looks awesome. Obviously, we've seen you get the big player in there. You just posted earlier.
We did. I did that today. I did that today, just now.
Do you plan on doing any recruiting at colleges to get guys to come out, or
no?
Are you going to do just kind of like an open invitation? Hey, if you want to come out, this is where I'm at.
That's kind of my thing is I'm not really trying to convince people to let me make them a champion. You know what I mean? Or help them on their journey. It's obviously not just me. You have to have a willing athlete, but I know a system. I know the correct inputs you put into what level of athlete and what you're going to get out of it. I really know. And for me, the recruiting philosophy is if you build it, they will come. The right people will come through the door. Like, I'm the kind of guy, I get excited around doors because you never know who's going to walk through the door. It could be the next champ. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It could be the next president. It could be the next business owner. And that can happen anytime. My philosophy is just that. To all the fighters out there looking for someplace to go, looking for someplace to train, if you build it, they will come. We'll see if you're worthy to stay with it, but you will have all the opportunities. All the opportunities will be here at this place. And then also I'm going to my most important thing for the gym is the kids program for obvious reasons. I would like to have a homegrown champ, someone that I get in the teenage years or younger, some young stud coming in who doesn't have to start out as a stud, but that's what training's for. Recruitment out of college, I feel the way I see on that is if you're trying to be an MMA fighter and you're smart, you know where to go. That's all I got to say about that.
Oh, yeah. Obviously, you've got Cynthia, who's I'd kind of like to ask you, how many wins do you think away before getting a title shot? I mean, 1, 2, or?
Well, I mean, think about it. She's fighting Claudia, and Claudia is probably the biggest name in the division behind Joanna. I mean, you got Karate Heidi up there, but Claudia, she's a good-looking girl, ultimate fighter, challenged for the belt, fought Joanna twice, challenged for the belt, has a big following. And if Cynthia looks impressive against Claudia, impressive and gets a finish, she could possibly fight for the belt next. Because think about it, Tatiana could fight Zhang Zhangzhou, and then whoever wins that will be open for a belt. And if she has an impressive finish on Godella, Cynthia could be right there. Now, if she gets a win, she's going to be with the worst she can do with the win over Claudia, a decisive finish, is number one contender. Possible title shot. I mean, Cody got the shot off beating Mizugaki. Things have to lay right. TJ just stepped in and fought Barao when Cruz pulled out against Barao, and TJ came in and got the shot. Title shots can happen off of one fight. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So of course we keep our idea on that, but if someone else has to get the shot, we'll stay active and fight either Joanna, Karate Hottie, Tatiana, you name them up there, The girl that beat the little girl, the little tornado, the girl that just beat her, Marina, she's a Brazilian, little tough girl, Muay Thai girl. We'd like to just take her down and sub her in the first round and get her out of there.
I think she's 4 or 5-0 now in the UFC. So I mean,
she's what?
I believe she's 4 or 5-0 in the UFC, right?
Oh yeah, she's undefeated. Yeah. So that's the thing with Mick Maynard. We were trying to fight Wheelay in Sacramento, and Cynthia was originally on that card, but she broke her foot, and we couldn't get Wheelay because they had her ready for the belt. So we said, hey, let's fight Marina. At least if we can't fight someone, and everyone in the top 10 were making all these excuses, and then they didn't want to fight, and blah blah blah. And we said, fine, if we can't get the undefeated and we can't get the top 10, or if we can't get the top 10, we'll take the undefeated. And Marina wasn't top 10, but she's undefeated. So that's momentum. That's a real win. If someone's never lost and you're the one to do it, but then, the MMA fans will say, oh, she sucked anyways. She's exposed. Yeah. Like the word, you're exposed. Getting a loss doesn't mean you're exposed, these dorks. But
hey, look at DC. He loses against Jones, and then look what he did after that when Jones was out. Wrestling guys that people were scared to fight. So, it happens.
Yeah, how many times did basketball teams get to lose? They lose like dozens of times or something. They're the champions. Yeah. Like, what the heck? But in MMA, you can't lose one. You got to be perfect. The highest standard of any standard.
Well, I think we can thank Mayweather and crossover with boxing for that. It's almost in boxing, they're handed their first 20 wins, with a guy that's got, a bright future, is looking good. And then after that, you start easing into tough fights. And definitely in the UFC, you're getting a tough fight for sure by your third fight.
Fight sport is, the records matter. In all the other sports, the records don't matter.
Yeah.
You have to have a certain amount of wins to be for the championship, but that one game matters. The championship game or the 7-game series or the couple-game series matters. It's like, it'd be nice if it was MMA, if you could do something like that. But
for sure. There's a couple more questions. I'm going to cut out a few of these because I don't want to take up too much more of your time.
I want to see Masvidal versus Diaz for the hardcore belt.
Yeah, who do you got?
Man, I don't know, man. It's tough to. I don't know. I feel like they're both kind of the same style of fighter, but Masvidal has the ability to do a jump knee to knock someone iced out with a punch. You know what I mean? And Diaz is more an accumulation kind of guy. So I think 3 rounds I'd go Masvidal. Nate Diaz, or 5 rounds I'd slide more towards Nate. I feel.
Okay.
But 3 rounds I'd say Masvidal. I feel like he's explosive enough to. But I thought that was Pettis too. I thought Pettis would be able to control, the storm that is Diaz for 15 minutes, be able to score and be on the outside. But he also broke his foot, But Diaz is hard to kick, man. I sparred with the guy a long time ago, and this is back in the day when he was dressed off the Ultimate Fighter, and people were saying, "Oh man, he doesn't even hit hard." I'm like, no, he hits hard, dude.
Yeah,
it's his fist. He's long and he throws them in. Man, So 3 rounds, I'd say. Masvidal, I'd say Masvidal is my pick, and then 5 rounds, I'd start sliding towards Diaz. But if someone's going to get someone out of there early, it'd probably be Masvidal. So,
okay. DC 3.
Oh man, that one, who wins that is the fans. I got to say. I think they should definitely do that trilogy fight, and I think they should, if that's DC's last fight, ride out with that big paycheck, and if he can beat Stipe, ride out with that big paycheck. But I feel like DC. Owes it to himself and his career to do that match, no matter what his motivation is now, and at least collect a check for himself. I'm not inside his head, but just looking at it from the outside, I like that. But I would like DC to, and I would, I don't know. I like Stipe. He's an active firefighter, man. They posted a picture of him the other day. He's cleaning the toilet with the UFC belt on, and I was like, that's a real man, That's a real alpha male. It doesn't flex much, you know what I mean? If you're cleaning the toilet and you got the UFC belt, say something to him,
Right.
His humbleness. Not only that, he's serving his community, and he's serving, his fellow citizens. And people write that off. I don't write that off, man. I don't care if a firefighter can make decent money. He's making decent money, but he's serving the community. Here's the difference between that guy and the average guy. When the house is burning down, the average guy is going to run away. Stipe and the firefighters are going inside the house and saving your family. You know what I mean? So those guys deserve respect, and they're not respected enough.
Oh yeah. Whitaker, Adesanya.
Oh man, that's a tough one, man. I picked against Adesanya like his last 2 fights because I just thought he was all flash and no substance. But man, I don't know. Whitaker's the guy to beat Adesanya out of everyone. You know? So I'll go with Whitaker. I want to go with Adesanya because he's got the hype and he's a young kid. And I met him at Nunes versus Holly Holm, and he's massive, man. He's got a big head, and he's tall. He's massive. Yeah. But Whitaker I thought was like a Aussie giant when I saw him in New York when Cody fought. He was monstrous as well. So That's just a great fight for me.
Weidman versus Reyes. How do you think Weidman looks going up in weight? Do you think that stops some of these late fight mistakes that he's had on his last 3 or 4 fights, or do you think it's going to be another Rockhold story?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know the other guy, Reyes. He's just like a tall, lanky kid. I don't know. Not interested.
Okay. And then do you think Benavidez gets Cejudo next?
You know, you can look at Cejudo and see the terror he's been on since Joe fought him. And you look at that fight with Joe and Cejudo. I think Cejudo dropped Joe in the first round. And
yeah,
I had that fight, you know, I scored it for Joe because I'm biased and Joe's my friend. But objectively, that fight was a dang coin flip. It was real close no matter what, right? We can all admit that the fight was real close. And if you look at what Benavidez has done and what Cejudo has done, the momentum's with Triple C. You know what I mean? I'm even calling the guy Triple C. But here's the thing. If anyone can do it, it's Joseph Benavidez. And, you know, I'm rooting for him, so I'm definitely going for Benavidez. But I love Triple C, and I love Triple C's coach, Eric Albertison. I should say manager. You know what I mean?
Okay.
He's like a WWE manager, but he's actually his coach.
Cool. And then another exciting thing, which we already kind of touched on, but you announced the podcast is coming back.
Yeah.
Who's going to be the co-host? Are we going to see Sir Studboy ever back on? When is the first episode going to drop? Do you have any information on that?
Man, Studboy, right? I don't know. He's kind of having health issues. He's been stuffing his face with nothing but ahi tuna appetizers, and I don't know, man. We're gonna try to get him out of. He's like in one of those beds that can like lift him up and stuff. So he's pretty comfortable laying in that bed all day. So I don't know if he'll come down to the studio or not, but that's gonna be one of the funnest things here, putting this podcast together. There's some interesting media conglomerates that are really trying to get into podcasting, and we're talking to them right now. But it's definitely me. I'm going to be one of the hosts. Studboy, we don't know. We gotta get more info from him and see if he can commit to something. But you know, the production and everything else is going to be way better than it was last time. You know, the last time it was like I was just trying to piece it together, hold that thing together by a million different strings with very little help. And now I'm gonna have a crew and be financed and everything else. So it's gonna be sick. And I'm pulling the covers down on everyone in MMA, man. I don't know about any of these so-called analysts. Schwab, these guys, I don't even get it, man. I don't even know what they have to do with fighting. What are they talking about? Who's breaking anything down? You know, the guy that never fought. You know, no offense, that's fine. But have your counterpart or something. You know. When it's fighting the kid, which one of those guys is supposed to be the expert? I feel like Brian Kahn calls stuff way better, you know?
Yeah.
And Schwab has been in there, so that just goes to tell you, it doesn't matter if you've been in there. You got to have some sort of level of intelligence. But, I don't know. Shout out to Callan. Stay strong, man. I know what he's going through. He's has to deal with this big old dork doing his thing.
Well, I hope you get Studboy back on there, and I hope you tell him he cannot complain that an episode goes past 45 minutes, because
right?
Listen to the episodes. That was definitely on my go-to. I was a subscriber. I definitely will be again. And
hell yeah,
I'm
man.
definitely a long-time fan, and that podcast really made me a fan of kind of the whole team over there, and gave insight. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. It's definitely been an honor talking to you right now, and I want to say best of luck in all your future endeavors, and I hope I can maybe reach out in the future sometime.
Yeah, no, definitely. Anytime.
Hell yeah.
Anytime, hit me up, and I'll we can talk about whatever.
Awesome.
I got you know that you listen to Stud Radio. I got diarrhea of the mouth. I'll never stop. We can keep going.
I know on one of your last shows you did there, you told who was the young kid? He started doing some journalism. And
Danny Mullen?
No. Mumbles? I'm not sure if it's
Mumbles. Yeah, no, Mumbles is a killer now. Mumbles is working for someone. Dude, I was in Vegas last time, and Mumbles like, I have to meet you. And I was like, all right, come to the fighter bus right here. He missed me by minutes. We barely missed each other by minutes because, I was running around like a psycho, but he was out there reporting on the event.
I know you told him, start a podcast, and you were definitely the inspiration for me to get going on this MMA. It's been something I wanted to do for years, and I want to say thank you to you for the inspiring words that you said to other people on your podcast. So,
man, thank you, dude. That's so cool. Hey, remember this? Look up Ellie Seckbach on YouTube. He's my boy too. You know Ellie Seckbach reporting work.
I will definitely. I'm going to look into it tonight for sure.
Okay, check him out. So let me tell you about him. Ellie Seckbach. He goes, hey, Robert Garcia, a boxing trainer. So how's Amir looking in the gym, blah, blah, blah. And he says, oh, he's doing this, he's doing that, he's doing this. And he goes, okay, thanks for talking to me, Mr. Garcia. Always a pleasure. Ellie Seckbach reporting. Dude, he's got it made. He's like the man for blogs. And it was that simple, shaky cam shit. And I've seen him now. He hangs out with Diaz. He's at all the events. He covers all boxing. That was it. So think about all the flashy lights, the wheel, giving away prizes, the shit on Stud Radio, the shit that Spider and the Kid does. Then think about Ellie Seckbach reporting. His YouTube is killer. He gets millions of views. And he just asks, hey, Anthony, how are you? Did Ruiz, how's the training camp going? And Anthony Joshua says, oh, blah, 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 blah. And he goes, Ellie Seckbach reporting. And people love him. So check him out, man. Like, that's as simple as it needs to be to take over journalism or to be a major player, to have something that simple. But right on, man. I got to get running, dude. I appreciate your time and the interview, and it was good talking to you.
I appreciate your time. Thank you very much, man. Have a good night. And
hey, everybody. That was our interview that I did with Justin Buchholz. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. It was definitely an honor to speak with the guy. If you want to follow him, again, you can find him at Justin Buchholz _ on Instagram. You can check out his gym at MFI Gym, and you can also find him on the website, mfigym.com. Again, use that promo code Spectator if you're looking to sign up. And then, again, please leave us a 5-star review on wherever you're listening to this. Like, follow, share, and please tag some friends on anything that you think they might feel is interesting. Again, I appreciate it, and I will see you for the next one. Take care, guys.